dang, people showing up to see you talk, Alex. What's up with that?
Yeah, I was hoping that I told Marshall if I do this podcast, ideally I want it to be bad enough that no one shows up to the Average Brew meeting. So
Well, they came for the single talk, and they're staying for the chest hair. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, damn right.
It's the only place you're growing hair, anyways, bud.
Right, I'll remove the tank about 10 minutes in when things start getting hot.
Okay, you can start now. Will Allward's here. If he's here, you're clear.
Tools.
Did we post a link in the announcements or anything? The link that I sent to like 3 of you?
We did, but Doug's not coming tonight, so we're okay. Everyone else can figure it out.
Do you know what his comment was in the survey? I'm not the only one that hates teams.
But you're the only one who commented on it, so...
Yeah, I'm the only one that commented on it.
Oh, Doug.
Well, I even if we do find a better platform, I think we gotta still keep using Teams as long as Doug complains about it.
As long as he's still around.
That's the kind of trolling I like from our leadership team. We're gonna do it despite everybody, even though we ourselves agree there's a better solution.
You gotta lead from the front, man. You know.
Almost military leadership there.
Yeah.
Just embrace the suck, guys. Everyone else
embrace the suck.
Sometimes I'm worried we're too efficient, so this seems like the right call.
It's 8:05. Where did Haven run to? He had stuff to say.
I didn't know if he was just going to do a dramatic entrance like that. Yeah.
Bring my single.
Oh, it's clear.
Oh, it's pretty humid down here, but yeah, it's clear. I mean, it's got a head of foam on it too, so.
Pretty humid down
this
there.
is my average brew, but it's an alt beer.
All right. Well, welcome to the June meeting. Let me just get this pulled up here because I am unprepared. I don't think we have a lot to talk about. Thanks for coming out to hang out with Brian last month. If you didn't catch the meeting, it should be up. I think we have it up on the Spotify, and I don't know where else Mike shares it, but that's up there. Brian talked about some cool stuff, biotransformation, Lona beers in homebrewing. It's kind of a new popular topic, and he gave a little bit of information on the now announced new Lallemand yeast strain. Unfortunately, he also did tell us that he no longer works for Lallemand. So they let him go. They did some restructuring, so that's a bummer. I talked to him just recently, and he's still enjoying the severance that they gave him, and kind of hanging out, enjoying some time, and he's got some prospects in the pipes to get back into the brewing scene. So he'll certainly let us know. I hope that's not the last time we talk to Brian, but we'll see what happens. So we're regarding the yeast that we used to get, that was kind of Brian's gig. I got in touch with a couple others at Lallemand, so I'm talking with them. I haven't heard from them for a couple of days, but I know they said they're going to be busy with the Pomona announcement. So we'll see if that continues. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to lose these super jacked forearms, so I'm kind of bummed from rolling out all that yeast, but we'll see what happens. So we'll let you guys know. We're not just free donations, so we're not saving a ton of money by losing that. So I don't know if we can necessarily replace it as to that scale, but we'll figure something out. Trevor was talking with Atlantic Brew Supply to see if they can do something, or we got some ideas. So Average Brü Single, that's of course what we're here to talk about tonight. That's kind of wrapping up, so if you haven't brewed it, brew it. I got my quad is fermented and it's off of the yeast cake, so we'll be ready for Q1 of 2025. The learned brewers will be choosing the new style soon, so I'll be getting it together hopefully within the next couple of days and out to all the learned brewers to get that next style selected. So I don't know what we're going to do. There was quite a few suggestions that were thrown out, so we'll see what happens. Trevor's not here, and so I don't know what he's doing with the prize structure for the Brew Club competition circuit, but we have Hot and Human coming up here. Ozark Open is coming up in, I believe it's July. And then we're on to our fall comp. So we're going to end strong. We got 4 of them at the end, I think. Forget About It open, and it's still open last time I checked. So get your entries in for that to get some points in the circuit if you win a medal. And we got prizes for the top 10 competitors on the circuit. So it'll be cool. I know 5 Star Chemicals, Lalaman donated some stuff. We got a ton from BSG. I mean, Trevor got like a pallet in the mail from BSG, donated a ton of grain, ton of yeast, some cider stuff. I don't know. It was a whole interesting list of crap that he got from them. So that'll be really cool. Make sure you're getting into those circuits and see if you can beat Doug. So we'll see what happens. Frank, go ahead and talk about what you got going on, because I don't have to send out a bunch of envelopes right now, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, well let me go get them real quick.
We handed off the tricycle to Frank.
Yeah, no kidding. I got them all written up and ready to be sent out. People keep sending me stuff. Keep doing the survey. Get your free coasters and stickers. We're sending them out completely on the club. So only thing you gotta do is fill out the survey, and you get your coasters and stickers. That's it.
Oh, they're pretty cool. They're actually, I was surprised at the quality of the coasters.
Yeah, the coasters are really good quality.
Yeah, not that I use coasters ever, but I'm gonna have like some cool little display for them. But the stickers are pretty rad too.
The quad and the single coasters and logos that Alex did are sexy.
That I love these.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, my single is the Trappish single. So I hope it wins an award just so somebody has to say that, and the 2 Belgian beer nerds in the crowd will get a kick out of it. So
I love that.
Hopefully drunk when they say it. Trappish.
Awesome.
And,
We're here to. Oh, yeah, Frank, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we're working on some pretty cool things in the future too. So,
Yeah, we got some neat stuff coming up. Frank's been working hard shipping us some samples, and we got kind of our big project for the year. I just sent out some beers to Frank and Alex to test those out. So we got to get some numbers together on those to see what's feasible for us, and then news will be announced. So we'll let you guys know. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to listen to the sultry voice of Alex woo us with some Belgian Single talk.
That's right. I hope you're all ready to be wooed. All right, yeah. And feel free to butt in if my audio cuts out or something. I guess I'll try to figure out how to share my screen real quick. But yeah, while I'm not the most qualified person for this job, I am thankfully the most available. Oh, that's not it. All right. Is Firefox showing for you guys?
Yep. I see a slideshow with a picture that's definitely not Belgium.
No, I think that is. I handmade this slide myself. It might look like I just used a pre-made template for some environmental group, but this was painstakingly made over a few minutes. All right. So yeah, we're going to, okay. Is this it? Great. All right. Yeah, so I'll just kind of be talking about a bit of my philosophy about how to make a fantastic single while still hopefully making it work within the Average Brü guidelines, though I understand that maybe 90% of people here have already made it, but still should be a good conversation starter for the rest of the meeting. All right, here's our team.
I think you gotta hit got it, because I'm seeing presenter window and got it, or is that just me?
Oh, really? Okay.
Got it.
That's better.
That's better? Okay. Let's see how to get back to presenting, or we'll just do this small screen because they're Yeah, that's honestly good enough if you guys are able to see it.
I know, but I don't get as much visible chest hair, so that's really the problem here.
I see. We'll work that in for the Belgian double one a year from now. All right, we're gonna meet our team here. Of course, these are really the 3 things to focus on in our beer. Again, not environmental group, handmade. A little bit about me. I'm not a Belgian monk, in fact, despite the hair loss. And really, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, because if you do want to learn everything there really is to know about making an awesome Trappist beer, you really just should read Stan's book, Brew Like a Monk. But I guess I am the de facto expert, since I've made this style 10, 11, 12 times, each a slightly different way. Oh, maybe that doesn't matter. So I think there's kind of 3 things that we want to focus on in a Belgian single. It's a pretty simple style, but still one where we got to take note of each of its characteristics. Those being the pale appearance, the very strong noble hop character, strong yeast character, strong bitterness, high carbonation. But despite all of these strong characteristics, most importantly is drinkability. So in my personal experience, I've always valued that pale appearance in just about every way, really. And for me, that just means keeping things real simple with 100% Pilsner malt. Because, yeah, again, looking at all those previous points before, this is not a malt forward style. The malt really just is there to provide sugars for the most part. And similarly, I kind of prefer keeping crystal malts out of it in the same way I like keeping crystal malts out in my West Coast IPAs. I want this thing to be crisp, and something like crystal malts can kind of oxidize into something a bit undesirable. But the Average Brew guidelines, I believe, require a little bit more than 100% Pilsner malt. Believe if we pull them up that we'll see that we also need to add some kind of sugars and some form of alternate fermentables that are up to you guys. So with that in mind, I would kind of recommend going something that is a bit of a low protein source, something like flaked maize, rice, sugar, or even honey. Because, yeah, you don't really need something like a crystal malt or something to promote head formation. This thing's going to have a crap ton of noble hops in it and be almost as carbonated as a saison. So if anything, you might run into problems with too much head. Which, yeah, bringing us on to the second one, and you guys can just stop me at any time. We're going to want a strong noble hop character. I think this is something that a lot of people overlook when they're making their Belgians, because when you're tasting these beers, I think there's a little bit of an overlap between the yeast character and the hop character. A lot of that kind of spicy notes that you get from the yeast are highly complemented by your hop choice. And by anybody that knows me, you know that I'm going to obviously recommend Average Brü, and in particular with a Belgian single, combining it with Saaz. Those 2 hops for me are kind of like the Belgian equivalent of EKG and Fuggle. And I think you guys are pretty familiar with those hops. A lot of overlap with, earthy, spicy, herbal, little bit of citrus notes. And yeah, both of these are subtle hops, rounded hops, and probably in a typical recipe, you're going to be dumping in probably, especially the way the drought has been, 8 or more ounces into the boil. Unless, of course, you're following the Average Brew guidelines, then I guess you can do Magnum and Saaz. That's fine. The people are wrong. All right. And for probably the thing that everybody thinks of with this style, rightfully so, we'll be using Belgian yeast. I don't think you can go wrong at all with going with something like 3787 or with the guidelines specifically with triple double. There's really not a whole lot to say about this yeast other than it just really makes this beer. Those crisp, spicy, and I know it's a little bit of a meme these days, but pear flavor that you get from that yeast pairs really well with any noble hop. Likewise, we do want to drive that character. I personally like going around that 72 Fahrenheit level. For me, that gets you cranking out plenty of that pear flavor from that yeast while still avoiding getting into banana territory. And I just kind of want to make a note that it's a-okay if you want to make this as a pressure fermented beer. It's, I think, a little bit of a myth that Belgian yeast, even Trappist yeast, can't handle pressure, as I've kind of accidentally done. I've made this beer at 100 plus psi, and yeah, that beer was maybe took 12 hours longer to ferment than normal. That yeast did not care at all. And regarding the other recommended yeast in the guidelines is the Lallemand, what is that, Abbey yeast. I suppose someone else will have to speak on it because I have absolutely no experience with it.
Have you tried any of the other Belgian strains out there, like the Rochefort strain or the Chimay strain in your singles?
Yeah, I did the Chimay strain one time. This was just one time, I think about 5 years ago, and I felt like it kind of lacked a lot of the character that I wanted from the Belgian yeast. Maybe I fermented it too cool or something, but I just kind of felt like it was lacking much character when I used it. Have you used it before?
I'm not using a single. I like Chimay in a quad from time to time. It's a good change up.
Yeah,
It's my second favorite yeast for dark Belgians.
Okay, what do you like about it?
I'm trying to remember. It just made a really good beer the last time I used it. That's all I can remember off that one. I'm trying to remember the notes I got from it, but it was pretty tasty. But I always use triple double, so I don't really.
Yeah, I was just wondering if maybe its yeast character maybe relies on a high gravity to express itself, or if perhaps it's more subtle than triple double. And maybe that's why in the single I made with it, it was not particularly characterful. But again, that was just a single time that I made it.
Yeah. Wait, I've used the Abbey dry yeast a couple times, and I've used Chimay, the WP 500 a couple times. I feel like there's quite a bit of overlap between those. They have push a lot of kind of cherry character, and I guess partially to me, I think cherry often hits me as the cough syrup that I grew up with. So it may be a pleasant flavor to others. It just kind of like hits me a little bit kind of wrong sometimes when it comes off a little strong. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the WP 530. Let's see, I've got.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a big fan of, who is it? Is it Samuel Adams Cherry Wheat? That I think is perhaps my least favorite beer ever. So I can't say I'm a huge fan of cherry in beer.
Yeah. I mine is fermented. I think like most of ours will be with the Abbey yeast, and I'd be curious to hear if anyone else has the same experience, because I get a lot of it. Almost reminded me of a hef when it was young, like very isoamyl acetate forward, very banana-y, kind of a little bit acidic, which I almost come to expect in Belgian beers, but certainly not the super phenolic kind of character that I was expecting. So I'll be curious to hear anyone else's take on Abbey, but I like it.
What'd you do with the temp?
I'd have to look at my notes. I know I open fermented it and I pitched it a little bit warmer, but I don't usually push my Belgians terribly high. So it probably maxed out around 70 to 72, just depending on however high the exothermic heat in the basement got to.
Yeah, I was gonna say I pitched at 68 and let it free rise to 75.
How's your care? Did it come out kind of similar to what I was describing, or
yes, actually, it
really
did. But it's young. I'm only, I don't know, day 5 on CO2. So I mean, we're a little young yet on this one.
Okay.
But yeah, and I did the same with the quad. I let that free rise, and that shut up in no time in heat, because that thing was just, it ripped after being thrown on the yeast cake. But
Oh, mine was fermenting in 2 hours. Abby
Yeah,
just shredded through that beer.
yeah, exactly. So I was up to 75 degrees in no time with that. But anyway, this is my first time using this yeast, and
Is it the same blow off tube requirement for the quad? Because I know 530 triple double, you would be wise to use a blow off tube.
I
Yeah.
I didn't have to. It was fine. It bubbled away just fine. The Krausen ring in there was pretty freaking nasty, and it was right at the tippy top of my fermenter. So it was close, but
I'm excited to open up that vessel and see what I got to clean, because I'm not sure what it looks like yet.
It's some of the grossest cleaning you'll ever do with Belgian
Sure.
yeast strains. It's so sticky, icky, nasty. Somehow Belgian yeast Krausen is the worst.
But
Yeah.
it's not actually STA1 positive, so that's the good news.
I've
Is it
got
not?
those mirror stainless conicals, so they're pretty easy to wipe and clean, thankfully. But we'll see how it handles this one.
Yeah, they know that yeast has little tiny hands that it likes to use to climb right out of your fermenter. So,
I had no blowouts, thankfully.
okay, that's good. All right, sweet. So, yeah, and another point that I think is worth bringing up is that I think adding to the drinkability of this beer is its high IBU count. In my experience, I like having it over 40, maybe even around 50, because again, I just really want that bitterness to be kind of like an IPA, cleansing your palate each time you take a sip. And kind of a note I'd like to make on that one too is that again, even if you're, I suppose, outside of the average brew guidelines, brewing with low alpha German hops, don't worry about dumping in all, 8, 12 ounces, whatever it takes. In my experience, all of that vegetal matter is a good thing and kind of adds to the complexity of the beer. Don't necessarily want this thing to be too clean. But yeah, again, with the people being wrong, the guidelines are 25 through 35. So with, I think, a high IBU being, in my opinion, pretty crucial, I would aim at the upper end of that range at 35 IBUs. And pretty much the last point, high carbonation, of course. If you can, pushing over 3 volumes is ideal, which I think people like Jordan Folks have talked about how it's a lot easier to actually have a highly carbonated beer if you bottle it. It gets pretty hard to actually get all of that CO2 into solution in your glass from a tap. So a little trick that I think actually got mentioned, was it Basic Brewing you guys were talking about? I didn't listen to it, but adding a carb drop into a sturdy bottle that you just kind of bottle normally from your tap gets you to I think, a really pleasant amount of carbonation. Of course, make sure you're using a sturdy bottle because you'll probably be a hair above 3 volumes if you're bottling from the tap and dropping in that carb drop. And yeah, as it says here, not only do you get the benefits of high carbonation, but I think bottle conditioning is a great thing to do with this style. I think kind of those crisp pear notes come out the most after 6 months or so. And yeah, even though it is a pale, pretty low ABV style, I think it really can benefit from aging itself. But if you don't want a bottle, maybe consider getting some ridiculously long lines. So
I can't be the only one here with 15-foot lines. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah, you should have it for sparkling water anyways. So yeah, bring that all together with drinkability. Here's kind of what's been my go-to recipe for better part of a decade. Like favoring sulfate over chloride, kind of a 2-to-1 ratio, probably like 100 to 50 is what I usually go for. 1050 OG, want it to be a moderate strength beer. 100% pills, and if you're like me, might as well mash at 165, but I understand if you don't want to. And dumping in probably 90% of your hops at a first wort, you'll still get plenty of flavor from those additions. But just to give it a little zip-pizzazz, yeah, feel free to add something like 1 ounce of your favorite noble hop at flame out. And however, if you're actually going to be following the guidelines, to kind of still keep it pretty crisp, I would be bumping down the OG to 1045 to kind of compensate for that lower IBU count that we voted on. And stick with those low protein sugars for your adjuncts. I would go with probably something like, probably works out to about a pound of table sugar and a pound of honey, something like that. And try to get a bulk of your bitterness from the Magnum edition, and kind of similar to that original recipe, toss in an ounce of Sots, 15 minutes, and flame out.
But has it been hard to brew for philosophy, knowing that you can't mash at 165 or whatever, and you've had to adjust your entire brewing process as a result?
It actually completely wrecks me. You're not wrong at all. Because, yeah, it gets really easy to just squeeze out those grains when you're squeezing out a mash that's 164 or so by the time it's done. But, yeah, anyways, just go out and violate all those rules, get 10,000 Jersey Tims, and brew however you like. I'm just one person who's never been to Belgium. Blah, 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 contact me stuff, because this is for a website. All right. So, yeah. So who here actually hasn't made their Belgian yet?
Hey, one question I have about the style.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap, I think, a lot of the Belgian, whether it's the blonde triples, the single, and then the Belgian pale ale. And I had a single in a competition a few times, and I definitely was getting the one, like there's not really a single that I know of that's from Belgium that's commercially available in the US.
Right.
So I don't. It's hard to tell what they actually taste like. The guidelines sound like it's a hop forward beer, and I think I get the impression judges think Belgian pale ale is like the same as like Belgian IPA, and it's just an American pale ale with Belgian hops. And I don't know what a Belgian pale ale tastes like either. But based on the guidelines, the Belgian pale ale is just a pale colored ale that's made in with some Belgian character. It's not hoppy, and that the single is actually a hop forward beer. So I don't know what other people's experience is with what kind of level of hops and hop character, and sometimes I'm also confused when somebody say hoppy if they mean bitter or if they mean big hop flavors. So I don't know what your experience is or any feedback on what level of hop character you'd expect in a Belgian single.
Yeah, maybe other people would have more experience if they've done significant competing, but it does. I think you're right that it seems like a single actually probably has more hoppiness to it than a Belgian pale ale, ironically enough.
I would enter it in the blonde, pale ale, and single category and just see which one they like better, and then average it out over time. Because honestly, judges be crazy.
Yeah, it seems like Belgians are one of the ones where judges swing the most on what they think it should taste like.
Yeah, the problem is when a judge sees bitter hoppy table beer, they are oftentimes looking at that through the lens of someone in San Diego, whereas it could just be so it's really down to the judge.
Yeah, even though I more think of a Belgian single as kind of being the same, maybe one step above something like a German Pilsner, which are, admittedly pretty bitter.
Crisp, dry finish, yeah.
It even says top fermented Belgian interpretation of German Pils.
Oh, okay.
It says that in the guidelines right there.
Okay.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've had a West Flandern blonde. I mean, it's been years. I just remember tasting like a loaf of bread with some hoppy bitterness. So there's a little bit of Belgian character to it, but it was pretty. But again, I don't typically gravitate to singles. I typically gravitate to the triples and the quads and things with real flavor.
The single I had in Bruges was very sweet, like how you're describing it. Well, very bready and sweet, not hoppy at all, really. Well, it could have been a triple. I don't know. I was pretty drunk.
Hey, Alex, great presentation. I can't stay. I just wanted to come in and support the presentation. Good job.
Well, thanks for the support, Doug. I know it must be difficult for you to not brew.
I'm flushed with beer right now. So I brewed yesterday. I got a Vienna in there. Anyways, good job on the presentation.
Well, thanks for dropping by, Doug.
When you go back and look at that last slide, tell me it doesn't look like a flaccid penis. I'll leave you with that.
Well, thank you.
Supposedly Chimay Gold is a single, and that I think you can get that at certain specialty bottle shops. I've never thought that hard about Chimay Gold because I don't really like it that much, but sure.
There's maybe something we learned from reading Brew Like a Monk too. I mean, all of these breweries have pretty vastly different ideas about what a beer should taste like.
I have a question.
Hmm.
I'm sure it's not traditional to clarify the single, but I'm curious if anybody has gelatin find or did any kind of finding with theirs. I have not done anything with mine as I just kegged it Saturday, but
I definitely did. Whether I was supposed to or not.
I think it's a good idea. It really helps with the aging.
Yeah, I never thought to do
Look
that.
at us when he talks. He can't even look at us when he talks.
He's filling in for Doug for the distracted guy.
I didn't, and it came pretty. I mean, you can't really see it here, but it did come pretty clear. This is probably 4 weeks in the keg, so it took some time to drop clear, but it does.
I kind of traditionally when I've brewed them, I've usually keg condition it and let it sit around for 6 months before I even tap it. So, you know, you can probably get away a little quicker than that, but it's up to you. Most Belgians do better when they're bottle or keg conditioned and hang around for a while.
Yeah, I was curious if anyone else who's made this before also believes in aging singles. Because, you know, they're a hoppy style, so I wonder if some people think that they should be consumed fresh, but I've always liked them rounded off a little bit.
what was Haven? What was the notes you were saying you got initially? Banana or?
Yeah, I actually get a ton of banana. Now that Brent says it, and maybe that's just me thinking about it, I can get some of those like cherry kind of stone fruit notes from it, but my initial impression was banana right off the bat. Almost, especially when it was young, it smelled kind of like a thin hef.
I was gonna say mine feels like a Heffa right now. 6 days.
Yeah, and it's still got some of that banana character in it, which I don't know. Alex, maybe you can shed some light on that. Is that
I was gonna say
appropriate?
I've had maybe 2 or 3 in the past that have been a little bit too hot, that have had that banana character, and that's definitely gone away with time. That's one of the things that kind of what I was talking about, where the pear seems to rise up over time. I think part of that is some of the other fruity notes like banana disappear.
Interesting.
I also think black pepper tends to disappear over time as well. If you ever get like peppery notes with especially with the triple double WP 530, the Westmalle strain, like usually your peppery notes disappear as well.
For sure.
Interesting. I certainly don't get any alcohol off this or any hotness, which is nice, but maybe that is just kind of being just a little bit young.
Yeah, I don't get any banana off mine. I get more phenolics than but it's pretty clean actually.
I don't mind. I think Will, correct me if I'm wrong. The Abbey yeast is the Chimay strain, right? I thought
I
that
have
was
no
you.
idea. I
thought
don't
that was
ever touch the stuff.
I think that was you that was saying that. I don't know, maybe it was someone else, but I think I tried that in I think I tried that in a Belgian IPA before, and it gave kind of the same character, a little bit more thin, a little bit more sweet and estery, but clean. I mean, good. It doesn't taste hot, no fusels, so I don't know. I don't mind it.
I
Yeah,
agree.
it's
good
allegedly
beer.
it's the same as WLP 500. I'm not sure which monastery that is.
Not sure.
Yeah, this is Chimay strains in theory,
Okay.
and yeah, my experience using them, several years apart was that they felt like they had some similar characteristics, and I'm a little curious. There's definitely a couple Belgian yeast strains I have not used, dry yeast strains that I've been using mostly dry yeast these days, but I feel like Saison and some of the sort of more Trappist, whatever monostatic, whatever they call them these days, styles.
Trappish.
There's the liquid strains seem like they have a little bit more character, but
Yeah. Based off of, I mean, I haven't used very much dry, if any, but based off of all the feedback I've seen online, most people stay away from it. I haven't found a dry yeast that enough people advocated for to make me want to try it for Belgians. So, and usually you're aging them for a long time, so I feel like the time investment, I want it to taste a certain way and not be something I don't like. I also think it benefits to use the same strain over and over again and play with temperatures and play with lots of things, because it's pretty big lever for temperature and pitch rates and those things. And so you kind of get stuck on a strain just trying to figure it out. And so it is kind of willy-nilly to go hop ship and go get another strain.
For sure. No, I feel like this recipe is one that I've just been like slightly nudging for longer than any other recipe.
What did you say you like to ferment your single at?
I've currently like 72F. Yeah, below 70, I feel like I don't quite get enough character from it, and over 74 starts getting pretty banana-y. It's also kind of a strain you got a baby too, because as Will said, it goes pretty nuts and it's gonna blow out of your fermenter and get real hot really easily.
I did triple double and a triple one time at 77, just basically sitting room temp in my office. I think it was the short and shoddy triple I did, and it came off super peppery from the get go, and then that faded off after about 3 months after the surveys were done.
Yeah, I would definitely say whatever you end up doing, I feel like age will fix it for this style more than any other. Or just Belgians in general, I guess. Anybody here in the crew that are sending something into the podcast?
Steve and I are for sure. Let me look at the rest of it. I remember.
Should be fun. I never make Belgian, so see what they have to say.
I wonder if it's going to be if carbonation's going to be a low carbonation's going to be a theme of the review or not.
I would assume, because I'm sure that's going to be one of the first things Marshall highlights is how effervescent this style is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Steve,
how much
yours
yeast is gonna
is
get
all
poured?
brewed and yours ready to go? Or you're...
What's that?
Steve, is yours ready to go? And
Well, it's only on day 6 in the keg and carbonation. So I mean, yes, it will be ready by I don't know what Haven sent deadline wise, but I think it was end of month. So
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be young based on everything I'm hearing here, but I guess it is what it is.
Oh yeah, same here.
I'm definitely gonna send my 90% alcohol beer.
See what they think of that after another 4
Oh,
years.
I gotta get a redemption. It's 7 years.
7 years. That's right. That's right.
7 years. Same batch of beer.
I still got my bottle, I think.
You? Yeah.
I can't believe you've had a beer for that long.
Oh, it's 19% alcohol. So how often are you gonna
Yeah.
drink that?
2017,
It's hard
19%.
beer. Malt liquor.
Yeah,
Pretty
that
much.
one kicked our ass. That was a good one.
The only one I got kind of like that I can't seem to get rid of is my Imperial Coffee Stout that I made in 2016, where each bottle has about, I think it's 700 milligrams of caffeine in it from how much coffee I dumped into it.
700. Oh, gosh.
And that isn't a green pepper hot mess by now?
It's horrible.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say that coffee is...
You're just too lazy to dump all the bottles. That's really it.
I labeled all the bottles thinking it was going to be really interesting and cool, and it just kind of tastes like brown green pepper.
Yeah, green pepper coffee is fucking terrible when it
gets you
when it
jittery
burns.
after one sip.
Yeah.
That's actually, I've had it happen, but judging coffee beers for a competition, that's the worst because it's just like nasty green pepper flavor. Thanks. Have fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't brew with it. I don't. Just not.
Yeah. The only reason I did is I think I had I was friends with someone who was running a coffee shop or whatever, and he was just giving away beans or whatever, so he gave me 4 pounds of beans, and I just dumped them all in a fermenter the next day. So
Wow.
It's a good collaboration. I get it.
Isn't there a legal limit on caffeine? I feel like I've seen that on some brewing show.
Well, there's
I don't know, officer.
they cracked down on no-dos back in the day, so I guess I wouldn't be surprised.
Wasn't that part of the issue with that Four Loko stuff?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was. I mean, the hospital or the health networks will tell you 400 milligrams per day max.
Oops.
And a standard cup of coffee has 80 milligrams, so 700 is a bit excessive. just a smidge.
Just a little bit.
I think each beer bottle was several cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So the East were not happy with that one either. It took a couple months. They were very happy, and I threw it in high Kreuzen and it just immediately fell down. Granted, it could have been all the oil from the beans too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that dry beaning is the way to go. I think adding the actual cold brew is a better method.
Cold steeping.
I much prefer like adding it in the glass. Like, add some cold brew to the glass.
Well,
Do
that
that
way,
too.
that way I can't commit to a whole keg of coffee beer.
Yeah.
I like it, but a whole keg.
If you cold steep it, you can avoid all the astringency. That's the way to go, in my opinion, too. But
that was some of the thinking behind throwing it all in the fermenter, but
yeah.
if there was any thinking.
I did ground coffee in one of the beers just to try it because I'm like, I just need better extraction. I need better coffee flavor, and I use like a medium roast single origin from a local roaster here, and that turned out freaking awesome. It no pepper character, no nothing. It didn't age worth a shit, but damn, that was such a good beer. So I don't know. I've had good luck with dry beaning.
One method I want to do, and I don't know why it sounds appealing, is adding it to the mash. For some reasons, that seems like that'd be a good middle ground between, actually hot steeping it and cold steeping it. So I don't know if you'd lose a lot of it. Yeah, I don't know if you'd lose a lot of the aromatics in the boil or what would happen there.
I know a guy that gets paid to do articles, so.
Oh, right.
Test out such things. So sounds like you need to add it to your list, bro.
Yeah, I should probably I just have a document on my phone where anytime I have a stoner thought, actually write it down.
That
It'd
would
be
be awesome.
be interesting to see what it did to the pH.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it would definitely lower it quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd
Depend-
be more dramatic than roasted grains, but
I guess
It's
it
strong
depends on
enough
how
for
much you
man, but
use.
pH balanced for a coffee beer.
There you go.
that said, I don't want to make 11 gallons of coffee beer. So
I did it one time, and I dumped probably about 7 of it. So
yeah, yeah, compost bin will be happy if I make it.
It sucks you guys have to make 10
Yep.
gallons of each.
You're telling me.
honestly, I have an alt beer right now because my alt beer experiment. I don't know if that's been published yet or not. The Schwartz beer one that just got published, that like 10 gallons of alt beer or Schwartz beer is not a problem for me. It's when you get one beer that you just kind of feel so bad, and you're like, it's not bad enough to dump, but do I really want to
Yeah.
keep this? I have a Scottish export on tap right now that I'm like, really? As soon as I need to make room, this is gone.
Yeah. And of course, everybody has far too many Hop Chronicle beers too.
I honestly haven't brewed one of those in a long time, thanks to our new schedule, and I'm so thankful. I've got one that I really have been itching to brew, but it's like I was like, oh well, we still need short and shoddy. Let me do one of those instead.
Yeah, I forget if Martin talked about it on the show or whatever, but there's a reason that bathtub beer that he laid in was Hop Chronicles beer. It's easy to get like 20 gallons of it.
And some of the hops, like when you're doing like Hersbruck or Northern Brewer, they taste pretty good when you do the lager ones, and then some of them you're just like, okay,
A slightly piney pale lager. Okay.
always tastes like citrus, and here we go.
Maybe one day we can talk Marshall into, I don't know, doing something like a Hop Chronicles, but with an ESB or something.
I think we need to get the a special hop blend and start doing Hop Chronicles on those.
Well, that'd be cool.
Second time around and do two hops. Hop pairing chronicles.
Right.
Surely we're gonna run out soon.
No, because they come up with new of them.
Yeah.
Which one did you say was the garlic bomb, Alex? What hop did you like the garlic character on? HBC
1019.
I have a whole bag of that in my freezer.
Yeah, a full pound.
I haven't even opened it after you said that. I'm like, I'm not in a hurry.
No, it would be. I'm curious to know A, if anyone else has ever used it, and B, Will, if you crack it open. Because for me, when I opened it, I was like, oh God, this is worse than Summit, and I was just hoping that it would turn into something else when it was actually thrown into the keg.
So we just make a pizza beer, and you get like a ton of because I think DMS is tomato paste, so we just have like that DMS garlic onion bomb, and then it's a pizza beer. It won't be good, but
little basil at flame out.
Yeah, oregano and basil at flame
Basil,
out. There you go.
oregano.
Maybe that's for YouTube.
The Parmesan cheese to get real stinky in there,
Just use old hops.
Yeah, aged hops.
Yeah, lambic hops. There we go. Oh, Martin's got a new video he's got to do, the pizza beer. We got to talk to him.
I've actually had one, and it said pizza beer, and I thought it was like this pairs with pizza, and no, it tasted like oregano and tomato paste and grossness.
Oh, that's got to be nasty. A good chaser to a bloody, but
I was wondering, I should have made a michelada with it. That's what I should have done.
Oh yeah.
There was a guy in my original homebrew club in Atlanta that made like a pizza beer, and it was pretty damn good. It definitely had basil character, and he used basil in it. But like if you were sitting there eating, like you could envision it. Like if you were sitting there eating a piece of pizza, it would have been phenomenal.
Did he serve it warm? I feel like a lot of that pizza flavor is, I don't know, it'd be weird if you had it bubbling and cold.
That was cool. I think it was just like a pale beer. I don't remember. I just remember tasting it and being like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
Wow. Like, what was the base style of it, or was it even a base style? Like, was it pale?
It was pale.
Okay.
I remember it was pale. Um, that's about that, and the basil is about all I remember about it. But I remember drinking it and thinking, he was like, "Oh, this is my pizza beer. Like, it's amazing with pizza." And I remember sitting there drinking it, thinking like, this would be amazing with a piece of pizza. So I don't know if he just threw basil in something, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Too long ago.
I had a blackberry basil saison once that was actually incredible. That the flavor just melded really, really well. It was like a French saison, so a little bit more glycerol in there, a little bit more mouthfeel. But that I didn't mind the basil in there, but it didn't taste like pizza. It just kind of complemented the yeast character. So I'm not opposed to using basil. I just don't know if I'd target a pizza beer. It's interesting.
Yeah, I do like the idea of brewing to make the beer specifically match some kind of food, though, adding in an unconventional ingredient to bridge it.
What brewery? It was a couple years ago, but I remember the social media post where they put like slices of pizza and money into a beer. Like they threw coins and dollars into a beer, and I forget who the hell that was.
Wishing Well Brewery. I'm just making up a name, but
It was like a bigger name. I couldn't get the beer around here, even though I really wanted to try it. But it was like a gimmicky shit thing that they did, and I'm sure it was just a picture on Instagram or whatever. But they were dumping money and pizza into this beer.
Sounds like something Martin House would do.
Yeah, that'd be.
Is that the Salt Bay guy?
Yeah, Martin House up in Fort Worth. They had like a elotes, like Mexican street corn beer. I mean, they have all sorts of weird, and people buy it and are excited about it. And I've had some really good Martin House beers, and then I've had equally as many dumpster fires that I'm glad I didn't have a whole can of it.
There's a good question for everybody. What's the weirdest beer you've ever bought and had?
That's a big list. There's of course, not that I've had it, but of course there's the Rogue Beard beer. I don't know if anyone ever had that. The Beard Air beer.
It's gross.
Isn't that like explicitly against all serve safe guidelines? Is hair and food?
No, I would try that. All it was just he cultivated yeast off his beard.
Oh, that makes it okay.
Well, there was the Czech supermodel that they got culture off her vajayjay, so.
Yeah, that was a popular one. I remember for social media that. I don't know if
probably
I do
only
that.
social media. Yeah.
If the beer tasted good, I would drink it, but I don't get the gimmick. I wouldn't pay more for it.
No.
I mean, I don't care how pretty she is. I don't need that culture.
No. Well, as long as it's whatever brewer's juice, I don't really care. You know, it's all the same culture shit. It's all the yeast doesn't care where it was found as long as it makes beer, right?
It's Sac-Cervisier gold down there.
I don't give a shit as long as it tastes good. Because it's so removed by the time it gets into your beer, right? They have to cultivate it, and they have to propagate it, and they have to propagate it more, whatever.
Oh yeah, they would.
Did anyone ever have the weird hot dog beers? There's like all the weird hot dog water beers that were floating around for a while.
Yeah, that was on my mind as a potential candidate for a really weird one, is those hot dog water beers.
Like Limp
They were
Biscuit
fine.
style? Chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water? No? Anybody?
Yeah. Pickle beers are a thing down here. I don't know. I don't know if y'all have pickle beers further north, but
we got pickle beers that distill. They have a spicy pickle one, and they have a That one's actually somewhat refreshing. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't mind them, but they're like super salty and briny.
Yeah,
and-
they're just weird.
Like the Goza,
Semi.
right?
Yeah.
It's like a
Kinda really-
Goza, I think.
Right.
That's the style.
Yeah, I think a lot of weird. I remember when Gozas were actually kind of popular a few years ago. I think those were where a lot of those strange
That was more than a few
things
years
started
ago, man.
coming
That
from.
was like 2018, 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think Kool-Aid pickle beer is maybe one of the more interesting ones I had that was at least pretty authentic to Kool-Aid pickles.
Wow, doesn't sound terribly appealing.
If you guys have ever had those.
I've had it's the electrolyte beers. What do they call it? The Branos or whatever? I've had those, and those are, I don't know, it tastes like a shitty extract fruited sour. I think that's like the weirdest. Those weird beers don't reach up here.
Darn.
Not many of them, at least. The pickle
I
one's
li-
probably the weirdest.
I lived in Tampa for a while where pastry stouts were born. That was that's the style. I don't understand.
Your mic is cutting in and out, Frank.
I lived in Tampa for a while where pastry stout was born. Don't quite understand that style either.
And I don't mind them once in a while. Steve and I are spoiled with Untitled Art up here because they do some pretty wicked pastry stouts. They used to be really good, and then they got to like it's literally like drinking chocolate syrup, and they're like 18%, and I just got freaking effed up off of them one night, and I couldn't
It's like
drink for a week.
it's like a 4-ounce sample. That's enough. I'm good. I'll have that lager now, please. Kind of beer.
Oh, it just destroys your entire
Yeah.
body. It just, yeah, they're fine.
That's a-
They're fun for
yeah.
like one.
Yeah.
That's a good idea if you want to if you want to start a microbrewery. That's a really small scale system. Just make beers that people only want to drink 2 ounces of at a time.
There's a brewery up in when I lived in Virginia that was like that.
Oh, really?
Brett, do you
Wow.
remember? It's like a brewery that does like a bunch of like big ass stouts. It's up near oh god, what's not in Loudon, it's just outside of Loudon.
That'd be a Droid Theory.
Yes, Enjoy Theory. They do a bunch of that shit.
The metal brewery.
Yeah. I see their reels on Instagram. They have like the chocolate it doesn't even look like beer anymore.
No,
It just
it's
looks
chocolate
like,
milk.
yeah, that's
There.
what it looks like. And it's thick.
I used to
Yeah,
get
there's
some
a
of their
couple.
stuff.
There's a couple. Facebook groups. The Nova Beer Lovers, Northern Virginia Beer Lovers, and you post something on there, and it's either you get a lot of love and hate. A lot of people love to hate those type of breweries because they're all
Weird.
8 different adjuncts in a 17% stout.
I do have
There's
to say,
Weathered Souls here in town, and they actually their head brewer just stepped down, which is interesting. But you go there and everybody woos about their big dessert stouts and crazy barrel aged dessert whatever. And I'm like, dude, how do you make money off of this? Like, again, somebody comes in here, they can only drink one max, and then all your other beers are so mediocre. Like, but I guess after you drink a big dessert stout, like anything's refreshing.
Yeah.
Probably-
Are those pretty expensive typically? Like, I wonder if they're meant to be for the person that's like, all right, I'll go into a brewery, have something novel, and leave. And they're expensive enough that, I don't know, the brewery still makes money.
I mean, they pour them in a 10-ounce glass. So a lot of the breweries around here, it'll be like the same cost as a pint, but it's like a 10-ounce pour instead of a 16. I don't know about Weathered Souls specifically. I don't typically go there because I don't think their beer is all that good. But
I think it's a lot of reason why a lot of these brewers are shutting down because they're doing those hype beers, and people
Hype's
come
gonna
in,
run out.
they come in, they have one, and they're like, okay, I'm leaving now. So
but
Yeah.
like 15%, you can only really have one. I mean,
it's true. But yeah, and then if it costs like, they cost, with all the stuff they're dumping in them, they cost a ton of money to make too. So can't be a good return. You're dumping 40 pounds of coffee and 80 pounds of lactose and whatever else in.
I was with you until you were saying that mean comment about dumping in a bunch of coffee, but
So the one time I tried to make a dessert style, I thought it'd be fun to make like a chocolate peanut butter porter, and I added too much lactose sugar and it was gross, and the only way to cut it was coffee. So I ended up adding a bunch of cold brew coffee just to add some bitterness back into the stupid thing, and I still hated the beer. So I don't make those anymore.
Damn it, Will A. Adding on the survey. Now I gotta do more work.
Sorry, you mentioned it. You reminded me.
Gotta write another envelope.
I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten all about it.
Have we most of the stickers been snagged up, Frank, or
No, we got a little less than half left.
okay.
27 responses.
Nice.
So
Good.
oh, 30 now. Jeez.
Nice.
Steve's filling out right now. Brent just got done. You know, I mean, I'm filling out one for fun, just to make you do more work.
I stole some blue folders. I don't know if anybody was in the Navy. I'm sure you recognize these. I don't know what was what classified information was in those, but hey, they're empty now.
Tax dollars of work right there.
Yes, sir. Saving the club money. That's all I'm doing.
Here we go.
Hey, Will, I was gonna ask you, adding the D180 to the fermenter and the quad. Does it pick up all that color?
Yeah, it makes it dark.
Okay.
So if you read Brew Like a Monk, they don't use a lot of like specialty malts typically in Belgian, so it's really the
Right.
sugar that adds all the color to a lot of your darker beers, which is pretty rad. So I have some D240 in my garage that I've been wanting to play with. I just got to find the right thing, but that's some dark stuff. I just want to see what it does.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've used that D180 one other time. The only other time I did a Belgian strong or quad, and all I did, I think it was just Pilsner. I think it was just Pilsner and D180.
It'll be tasty if you get the right yeast in there.
Is there a use for those sugars like D180, 240 other than Belgian quads?
I mean, whatever blows your lack of hair back, Alex.
All right. Light lager it is.
Hey, they can only knock you 3 points for appearance on a beer and for BJCP. So if you wanna turn in your blonde stout into the oatmeal stat category, you can do
Right.
it.
I try to handicap myself a little bit since I add food coloring to all my submissions.
You could probably do a seltzer with the Belgian syrup.
Really?
Maybe, I don't know, why not? Just a D180 seltzer.
I think it'd be interesting to do a like something like a dark mild with some D180
Oh, yeah.
or something. I think
Yeah.
it'd be curious to see if it came through in a good way on that.
What's the difference
Oh.
between invert sugar and the D180? Do you know?
I think technically the D180 is just a caramelized version of invert sugar. I think.
Yeah, it might just be a type of invert syrup.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Because an invert syrup is where you take regular sugar and add acid like citric acid or cream of tartar, and then now you should have both sucrose and fructose in the same.
All it
combined
takes is
thing.
you hovering over the stove 6 hours.
Hours.
Yeah, it takes forever. Did that with a dark mild, and I love that style, but I don't know if that was worth all the work.
I have an experiment, but I don't think I'm going to do a caramelized version. It's going to be a lighter version, so
Yeah, look forward to that.
I don't, because I got to figure out. I'm going to probably do a test run on invert sugar first before I go full in.
So I'm looking forward to it so that I don't have to.
Yeah, all these experiments, they seem like a good idea, and then you get halfway into them, and you're like, why did I agree to do this? This is stupid.
At
Like
least
all
I
the
didn't
Belgian
pitch.
experiments I keep putting off.
Yeah. At least I haven't pitched a kept tennis experiment.
How'd
Yeah,
that turn out?
Still bubbling away. That always takes a while to ferment, but oh man, I was doing that since the morning and did it till bedtime basically.
Oh, but the after pictures are beautiful, Alex.
Yeah, right. In those tin foil pans.
So it was
And all-
like nasty baked lasagna.
right. So it's yeah, I don't even know if it'll make for a very good video either. I'll just be like, well, watch me slowly burn beans.
Exactly. Man.
Set up, yeah,
See you,
set
Steve.
up. Yep, see you, Steve.
Alex's baked malts.
Right. Set up a security camera in the kitchen just in case they lit on fire. I'm afraid it's just a lot of me walking in the kitchen and looking disappointed there's no flames. So I did set off the smoke alarm last time I made them, so I was kind of low-key hoping I would this time.
Be more exciting. I'm just impressed
Right.
that you've done this twice now.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be a third. No,
I don't know how your wife lets you do that.
like I said,
That
I'll say somehow both times I've made it, she's been out of town for over a week.
it must reek so much.
Yeah, no, the whole house just smells like burnt sugar for a couple weeks. But the
You're
kitchen's
really
my
selling it.
domain. Yeah, right. I would say the beer is actually really unique though. If you've ever had it, I guess. Don't know if too many people have.
I think in order to have it, I got to go to your house, buddy.
Pretty much, or Norway, or sorry, Lithuania,
I think your house is closer than all those options.
probably. Might be
Gonna-
easier to.
Gonna be done by the 22nd. I'll swing by.
Probably actually. Yeah, because yeah, that beer, even though it's brown, I mean, like pretty much literally all of it. I mean, it's basically just a beer where all of the grains are crystal malts. So it's, yeah, speaking of pastry stouts, kind of one of those styles where you really don't want more than 4 ounces of it, but very earthy and sweet.
Did you make
Just
5
do it.
gallons of it?
Oh yeah.
5 or 10.
Only 5. An experiment beer with that would be the absolute worst. Not only doing a split batch where you're trying to make it the exact same way twice, but then having 11 gallons of it.
Okay, are you just doing a DIY?
Yeah. DIY, and Martin wants me to do a video with it too.
No, that's novel enough. It ought to get some good clicks.
Yeah. I don't know if. Yep. See you, Havo. Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna still be. It was kind of a semi-trendy style back when everybody was reading Lars' blog in 2017, but yeah, I don't know if it's completely left the public consciousness.
Yeah, I was looking at one of the experiments that I had proposed coming up, and I'm just like, this would have been really relevant about 5 years ago, and I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. People think you're the guy that takes the simple methods for brewing beer and stuff. They're gonna destroy your image here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Be fine. What image do we have to destroy, right?
Should be cool to see a video though. Because the only
Yeah, I
other,
hope-
I was gonna say the only other time I've ever heard about that style is on Basic Brewing. I don't know, back about a
Oh.
year ago, 2 years ago.
I didn't know he did that. I'm still like 300 episodes from the present, so
Yeah, not too long ago, like a year and a half. maybe.
This does seem like a very James thing to make that.
Yeah, he had Lars on, and then he talked
Oh,
to him
wow.
about it, and of course he made it, and I don't think it went well for him, if I remember correctly.
There's a lot to go wrong.
Yeah.
So how many of y'all
You-
actually watch BrewTube? Speaking of YouTube channels, like I know Brent has a channel, but like how many of y'all actually watch a bunch of BrewTube? Like whether the Philosophy Show or like Apartment Brewer.
I sometimes watch is it the Brew Dudes, the two guys that are in the garage?
Yeah, in their
That's-
basement.
or basement, yeah.
Yeah, I watched them.
I think they're the only ones I watch. I don't think I even watched the Brewlosophy one too much, frankly. I can't do it while driving.
I watch way too much. There's definitely quite a few that I enjoy. There's a guy, speaking of brew dudes, there's another guy that's like Dude Brews or something.
Dude Brews.
He's over in I don't know, somewhere in England or UK or something. And
Yep.
he's
Oyster
just pretty simple
Boys.
stuff. I think he makes pretty good beers too.
Is he very
Like-
dude?
I like the Apartment Brewer. I wish he could shorten his videos down, but I guess he's, people are watching. He's one of the more popular. So
How
watch
long
it.
are his videos? Sorry.
Oh, his videos are like 20, 25 minutes.
Hmm.
I watch a ton of brewing videos. I usually that's what I watch before I go to sleep. Whatever's
When do-
new.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when do you guys watch it? Because I always think of things like podcasting or the articles. Like articles, I'm going to read them while waiting for something, or podcasts listen to in the car. But videos seem like you actually have to sit down and
Make
get it all
time.
set up.
I highly
there's a
understand
TV in my
membership.
kitchen that I tend to just put on some YouTube while I'm like fixing something or
That's a good idea.
eating.
I've tried to watch it on Brew Days before because I have a TV in my garage. But then like you look up and you're like 5 videos after, and it's not even brewing videos anymore. It's on some random Minecraft thing that your son picked on some other channel they decided to like on your profile. So
I was
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that. I tried that too. It was the same thing. I was too distracted. So I didn't
Yeah.
get anything. But I
I like
usually
the
watch
idea of doing it while cooking, though.
yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I have to sit down, and that's why like timing is important, because if it's longer than about 10 minutes, it's hard to squeeze in.
Most aren't. Most are pretty short.
Hmm.
I mean, it's really like, the Apartment Brewer, and then that Dude Brews. He gets pretty long. Those are probably the two that I see are the longest consistently.
Is
But
that
most
a
others
community?
like 10, 5-10.
Mean Brews feels like it can drag on for a while.
Well, you don't just skip to the end.
I want to see graphs, Alex.
Well, I can look at the graphs afterwards if the recipe looks good.
Has anybody actually just brewed a straight up Mean Brews recipe? I've not.
Hmm.
I'm
There's
curious.
a couple of guys in our club that use them frequently in competitions and do well.
Yeah, I feel like most people in my club, I mean, he's in my club to be fair, pretty exclusively brew his recipes.
I've definitely consulted his recipes if I'm trying to brew something I haven't.
Yeah, tend to use it as like okay, how far off base am I? Kind of semi-calibration.
It's not a bad starting spot. I don't know. And he's good. Actually, I judged the fight that gave his triple a gold in our last competition. It was a good beer.
Yeah,
I think we scored it at least a 43 or a 44.
his meads are totally insane too. He brings those to local meetings, and I almost feel like that's half the reason to go to these local meetings is his meads knock it out of the park every time.
So does he have a ton of medals, or Is he,
Yeah.
'cause I know he's part of that whole master. Whatever.
Yeah, he's one of the founders, I think. I think he
Okay.
was the president until he stepped down this year.
Yeah, he stepped down, but he's going to another officer position, I think. So
Okay. Very busy dude.
There was the one guy, Fritz. I don't know what his last name is. It was
Maytag?
he was on a there was a podcast that was going for a while, and I haven't seen an episode in a while that was related to competitive homebrewing, and they
Yeah.
interviewed him, and the year that he won the Circuit of America, I think he said he won 150 medals that year, which is when you
Absurd.
just think about like I mean maybe he's even if you're just hitting 100%, which clearly you're never going to get that. The money, like the thousands of dollars
Yeah.
you're spending
Yeah,
just
I don't
to
know.
entry fees and shipping and package, because at that point you're not using random Amazon box that you have around the house. You're buying boxes, you're buying packing, you're buying new bottles, you're buying cases of bottles all the time, like the expenses. And then you actually have to brew some beer on top of it too, right? Which is
I can't imagine the time. The time would just be
No,
ridiculous.
it seems like, yeah, that whole beer thing, competing particularly, is just his entire social life, basically. It has to be. Not to mention the money, like you said. I don't know how a lot of people compete what feels like every week, because it seems like that would increase the cost of the hobby like tenfold.
Yeah, Haven.
yeah. Speaking of Abe, I'm sure he's spending a couple $100 a year on.
He's probably got 3 more years before he has to sell his house.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
I don't know how you afford competing.
Honest to God, I'm sitting on the floor right now trying to box up 15 bottles of beer for a competition as we speak. So there you go. One right here.
dude,
So,
I
yeah,
hate
It's
hate
not cheap.
shipping. The
Yeah.
only 2 out-of-state comps I did was the NHC first round, which my beers bombed in, and then hot and humid where I had to mail it to Florida, and I'm like, I don't even know if my beers made it. We lost the tracking slip, so who knows if they ever made it.
I'm gonna be judging those. Hopefully, we'll see.
When are they doing the judging? I forgot.
Starting
Supposed to be
this
this
weekend,
weekend.
right?
Should be judging this weekend. Yeah.
Oh. Do you
It's
have some kind of code?
the comps here tend to like judge for like a month. Kind of weird. But
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I know Doug talks about putting the same beer in 4, 5, 6 competitions, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what. I guess at that point, I'm not. You're paying $50-$60 just in entry fees, let alone shipping. Now you're talking the batch of beer that costs you $30-$40 to make. You're
Right.
spending $60 or $70 just to get feedback. I mean, clearly you're at that point you're competing for medals and for bragging rights.
I like it. That's fine Pilsner.
It is a mighty fine.
Triple hopped.
No, this is called Fresh Haircut. It says walk-ins welcome on the label, and it smells like a barbershop, and I love it.
That sounds pretty good.
Like
Yeah.
Barbasol kind of thing or something like that.
Yeah, what
I figured it had kind of like a
musk?
that orange oak moss thing.
Alex is probably looking at the barbershop. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right. You'll have to be more specific when you're talking to me
So
about
my haircut's
barbershops.
always fresh. No, I think I was thinking about this earlier today. I think competitors, there's kind of 2 kind of competitors, like, and then the range in between. Some people looking for honest feedback, and I think the feedback's all over the place. So you kind of take it all with a grain of salt. And then there are the other people that are just chasing medals, and it's the game of chasing medals. And I think when I compete, I'm more in the game of chasing medals, because I've gotten feedback on the same beer, anything from this is an amazing example to this is totally out of style. So
Yeah.
and it's the same beer in 2 different comps. You're like, well, I don't even understand that. So okay, cool. Yeah, so I don't know. Just depends on the comp, and I feel like regionality is a thing, because I feel
Yeah.
like in the San Antonio competitions, like San Antonio brewers do well, but we're also used to drinking each other's beers, and we're drinking probably people we've had their beer before, or had similar beer before. We all drink at the same brewery, so our frame of reference for what beer styles are kind of the same. We all talk to each other about what's good and what isn't good. Our club does okay in Houston comps. We don't do very well in Dallas comps. So
I was
Well,
gonna
that's
say
just-
there's probably I kind of think of it as just even like region of the country where like if you're in a southern state, your lighter styles, your lagers, your pilsners, your anything light is going to probably do a lot better than like your darker, heavier styles, which probably do better in like your northern, colder regions of the country.
well, and have you had West Coast IPA on the West Coast?
Yeah.
I finally had it in Seattle, and it tastes completely different than any West Coast IPA I've ever had in Texas. Like the beers over there were like finished super dry, were pretty refreshing. Stuff here, like they always make it so bitter if it says West Coast in front of it.
Yeah, and I'm
So-
not sure that like, Seattle and Portland are the same as what you get in San
Right.
Diego either. I mean, the problem, like, I don't know if it's a problem, but I mean, these days information travels so quickly that the same styles end up getting brewed a lot of places, so you don't have quite as much regional. But yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I have that kind of like pet peeve, like why West Coast IPA meant something, and then these brewers in like Southern California decided to just brew something completely different, and you call it a West Coast IPA because they're on the West Coast. Whereas, I mean, for a decade, it was like the stuff coming out of Stone and Sierra Nevada and Liberty, or like those were like the big bitter caramely. I mean, not necessarily caramely because
Well, I think that became American
think,
IPA, and then West
yeah,
Coast
that's
IPA
what they
became
call it
different.
under the BA. Now they have American
Okay.
IPA, which is the classic. Now they have West Coast IPA, but I don't know. I mean, West Coast, because I do that around here. I see a lot of West Coast IPAs, and I think a lot of people think like this is the 100 IBU things that Stone used to make, because they're they define the style to some extent for a lot of people, and they're a West Coast brewery. And even though that may not what they make these days, like a Torpedo or something, Sierra Nevada is a West Coast IPA or the.
Well, Jordan Folks, I had one of his West Coast IPAs, and it finished a lot like the ones I had in Seattle, and it's different than what I get around here described as West Coast IPA, because Weathered Soul's West Coast IPA is like super bitter and not very good. So it's kind of like, you gotta pick and choose. And I even kind of joked with Jordan. I was like, yeah, if I enter this around here as a West Coast IPA, under an American IPA category or something, he'd be trashing me on bitterness or something.
Yeah, it's kind of funny
Yeah,
that
and I put an IPA in the National Homebrew Con in Philly that was just a Munich malt and 2-row, and I got dinged because it was too light in color by one of the judges. But yeah, like even I said that San Diego, they'd be like, it's way too dark for a West Coast IPA, probably.
Frank, tell your wife no yawning. Tell her no yawning, Frank. No yawning.
No.
It's only 10:30 on the East Coast.
No, and then like judges, like as a judge, like I'm curious to hear y'all's opinion. Like I don't really care about assigning scores when I judge. I just enjoy like trying the same style of beer over and over again and getting ideas. Like to me, it's like about getting ideas more so than giving somebody a score.
being a judge, you mean?
Yeah, being a judge for like a comp. I
It's
think it's fun to
definitely-
try a bunch of beers. Some of them are really, really good.
Yeah, and they give you a good idea too if you try something and you don't like it, to be like, okay, well, maybe this is something I've been doing that maybe I need to cut out. And yeah, you'd find no easier way to sample a bunch of different beer styles than just judging for a competition.
Atlantic Brew Supply just put out a post about needing judges for their contest, and I thought about maybe doing it if they needed me, but I don't know.
If I can do it.
There was a pro brew comp up in Fredericksburg that Altstadt put on. It was like the Fredericksburg Beer Festival or something. And one of my buddies here went up there and judged a whole bunch of pro beer. And he's like, the top end stuff, pro versus homebrew is there's a lot of parity there, but it's like there's the bottom of the pro is not quite as having the bottom falling out as the homebrew.
I could see that. Yeah, I thought about getting certified, but I mean, part of it is like, I've got my top 4 or 5 activities are kind of beer related, so I'm not sure if like fitting in judging beer on the random weekend that I'm free is the best thing I should be doing. Probably should be getting a gym membership or something, but
It's not near as much fun.
Make you go bald.
The Buc-ee's koozie, I like it. Way to go.
Oh yeah, I gotta stay on brand.
all right, I think I got a fermenter to clean up. I should probably do that before going to bed. So good chatting with you guys.
Later.
Yeah, you too.
See ya. I need to go too. I got to work, so we'll talk later.
Back to a leadership meeting. Here it is.
Yep, see you,
There you
Will.
go. See ya.
Now that they're gone.
Yeah,
You're muted, Haven.
So I had 15 bottles in a box, and I couldn't seal it, so I had to unpack the whole fucking thing, and now repack it into 2 separate boxes, and I have to get this out in the mail tomorrow. So this sucks.
Christ.
That's every competition I ever enter. Is like, it seems like a good idea, and then I have to like package it and do all the crap. You're like, no, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
I
It's fun.
so much
It's-
this year. I like it, but
It's a pain. Packing is a pain. I don't even mind bottling, but one of my local buddies and I are driving down to Indiana for the Indiana Brewers Cup. So we're gonna judge for 3 days, which would be super fun, I think. And then the day after, so we have to behave ourselves. We get to take the tasting exam for BJCP with Sandy Cockrum. So I think that'll be really cool
nice.
to take it with the BJCP president. And she's one of the judges too, so that's going to be intimidating as shit.
Someone's gonna get some long notes.
Yeah, that's going to be. I've been practicing I got a whole stack of score sheets here that I just like every beer I taste, I fill out a score sheet and time it and like make sure I fill it out completely because
Wow.
if I'm driving to Indiana, I'm gonna nail this thing.
this is fine. I scored high enough to get recognized with a stuffy nose, and I couldn't smell. So you'll be fine.
And
Nice.
I figure as long as from the stuff that I saw online, even if you feel like you're being really froofy and like pulling shit out of thin air, you're probably still fine. Like not for that test. It's just kind of more of a matching to what they're tasting. As long as I can get certified and never have to retake a test again,
Yeah,
I'm fine.
I still need to get certified. I need to take the test.
That's my goal. If when I judge there and if I get the correct score on the test, I'll be certified with all the points that I have. So then I never have to retest. So then I can just judge at my leisure. I don't have a desire to go up higher. So
Yeah.
that'll be that.
The hard part is finding a test like you think it does.
And that's, not easy, especially around here. I mean, Wisconsin does not have a ton. Will can find them in his backyard every freaking weekend, but
Yeah, I have
The
to
test,
avoid
I'm
them.
driving to Fort Worth to do it, so it's
oh,
a 5-hour drive.
We have
San Antonio
pretty
doesn't
good,
have it either. Houston or Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah.
We have a pretty good club here. They do it once a year here, which is nuts.
mhm.
Yeah, we have a couple national level judges here, so it's like pretty good judging here.
Well, you're lucky that Texas is small. You guys can just drive everywhere, and you'll be there in a couple hours. It's fine.
Pretty easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Throw it in cruise control and just go.
Well, it was funny because the guy I took the online exam like a few years ago at a brew club meeting. I was drunk and I took it, and I think it was the night of all the triples that I went and gave a talk after. That was a good night. But I think I took the BJCP exam, but that was like 2 years ago, and so I was like, oh, I never found a tasting exam. And so I finally found the tasting exam, and I emailed the guy. He's like, oh yeah, and I need your certificate saying you passed it, and it needs to be less than a year old. And I'm like, shit. Well, I paid for the 3. It was still valid.
No shit.
And so I went back and I took it again, and like 30 minutes later, I said, oh yeah, here you go.
Wow.
Passed 2 minutes ago.
I was like, and I was stone cold sober that time because I just did it on the lunch break.
Oh, that's funny. I thought the test was decently hard. Mostly it was a lot of Belgian questions, which I'm not familiar with that style as much, and barley wine, tons of barley wine questions, which I wasn't really familiar with. But I mean, you kind of take your best guess and you can get pretty close.
I'm a product of Texas school systems where I'm taught to pass the standardized test. That's all I know how to do. So, and the art of standardized testing is this: there's always one answer in the multiple choice that is just outright wrong.
Yep.
There's another answer that, if you kind of know what it's talking about, is wrong as well. And then there's 2 answers that kind of make sense and only one right one. So you narrow it down to the 2, and it's a coin flip.
I usually go for the one that has the most words in it, the answer.
Oh no, that's a terrible
That's pretty
strategy.
good. No, it works pretty well most of the time. You don't even have to read it. Just like, oh, I count the words. All right, we're good.
That must be
That's
your
not-
Florida tests.
No, I grew up in Virginia. Thank you very much. I took the Virginia test.
So there's actually a guy in our homebrew club that teaches statistics at TSA, and he actually used to write standardized tests for a living.
Oh my gosh.
So he's pretty awesome to chat with about passing standardized tests.
It's funny.
And I think I told Aiden this already, but I'm going to boycott Reggie beer competitions. They're the worst. It's the worst software ever.
Yes. It's awful. It's BCOEM is so much. I don't give a shit that I have to sign up for a new account every time. I use the same email and password. Come hack me, whatever. That's fine. It's like the same account. It doesn't matter. Like Reggie is just so old.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The only thing I like about Reggie is that you can see your whole record on one website.
I keep a spreadsheet and a folder of all my old score sheets. So I'm like,
body down, Mr. Organized over here.
Oh, organized. It is all thrown into a folder and like, what score did I get at what competition? And then I got to go dig through 100 score sheets.
Yeah.
But it's there.
I mean,
I know it's there.
You should see my desk at work. It's just papers everywhere, sticky notes all over my computers. I try and I fail.
Yep. All right, I'm out of here. I got to pack these beers. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Bounce too.
All right. See
Thanks,
y'all.
Alex. Nice job.
See you guys. Thanks for coming.